Hello middle school artists, I'm so excited to share our project with you for this week. We're going to make a 2-point perspective city. We have worked on perspective drawing for the last couple of years. If you worked with me in 5th grade, we made a 1-point perspective bedroom where everything revolved around 1 point in the middle and then radiated out. If you worked with me in 6th grade, we created a 2-point perspective treehouse where the perspective lines were on either side of the piece of paper. And this is a 2-point perspective, so the perspective lines or dots are on the outside. You can see that this is a city. Each one of these are very different. These were created by your classmates this year, and I just wanted to share them with you because they're all unique, but they all have the same directions. So this is a project where I'm going to show you the framework. I'm going to show you how to make the buildings, but the details you create are your own. So it's really open-ended and gives you a lot of opportunity for creativity. The only thing you need for this will be paper, a ruler, and a pencil and eraser. Now the paper can really be any size. Ideally, you want a little larger paper just because it's easier to work on. But if you don't have a larger piece of paper, that is fine because you can do one of two things. You can either just make a smaller version of this, or you can use 2 pieces of copy paper that you tape together. So this is basically 2 copy paper size papers. If you put those 2 together and tape it in the middle and flip it over, you instantly have a larger piece of paper, and that will work just fine for this, okay? A reminder about drawing in general, but specifically perspective drawing, is that you need your lines to be light. For this project, my lines are going to be darker really than I want them to be, but it won't show up on the video if I do them that light. So yours at home will be lighter. And I'm going to do this step by step. This is the way we would do it if we're in the classroom. That way, if you just want to pause the video, if I'm moving too quickly or you need to fix something, just stop the video and then move along that way. All right, so the first thing we need to do is put perspective points on either side. So on each side of the paper, you're going to put a dot and a dot in the middle-ish of the paper. You do not have to measure it, it's just roughly in the middle. Our first line is a vertical line that, again, is in the middle-ish. It doesn't have to be exactly the middle. I'm gonna kind of go about 1/3 of the way down and then draw the line from there. And again, light. Mine is way darker than it should be, but you won't be able to see it if I don't do that. Then I'm going to do my first perspective line, which means I'm going to go from the bottom of that line to the point over on each side of my paper. So I take a second to line it up. That's important. You really need to make sure that you're doing each of these lined up with the dot. Otherwise, you don't have the illusion of the 2-point perspective. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, lining it up with the dot and going all the way out. So right now, this is what my paper looks like. The next point is to create the tops of my building, which is the same technique, but I don't have to do the lines all the way over. So I'm going to go to the top of that line that I made, and again, I'm going to measure to the dot, the point, and I'm going to go not all the way down. I'm going to stop about there because I don't necessarily want my building to be all the way down. I want to have multiple buildings, so I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And then I'm going to close off the sides. And one of the things that I often make a mistake doing is when I'm doing this and I go to use my ruler and I'm going to make a straight line, if my ruler's at a slight angle, either that way or that way, it really throws the illusion. You want to make sure this line is straight, yes, because it's a ruler, but it also needs to be very parallel to the side of that paper. So it should be parallel to this line. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, making sure that I'm keeping it really straight. All right, next, I wanna create a series of buildings. So my next building, I'm going to do the same steps, maybe a little bit taller on this side. And then, oops, my pencil did a trick non-line there. There we go. A little bit taller, and then it's the same process where I'm going to do the top of it to the perspective line and then the top over here. Now, I am running into a problem. I'm going to show it to you, which is that my ruler doesn't quite reach. Now, this is one of those things, something we have in the classroom that I don't have at home, which is an 18-inch ruler. And so I tried to think of what we could do to solve that. And what I found was just an old, I have an old legal size filing folder. It's longer. You do not have to have a filing folder. You just want to find something that's long enough that you can reach that straight. You still need that straight edge, but you need it to be longer. So I'm going from the top of that to my point to do that line. And I'm going to keep this folder, so I'm going to need that again. So that's how I did that building. I'm going to make that line just a little bit longer. And then I'm going to stop. Now I need to close the buildings again, just like I did before, but there's something different on this side, which is that I want to make it look like it's going to be behind this building. So I'm going to have just a short little line and have it stop like if it was on that building. Now I'm going to keep going out, so I want to fill in my whole space. Your buildings don't all have to be attached like this. You could have a building that was freestanding. I'm going to use my handy dandy folder again because I can't quite reach that side. So I'm doing that from the top. You know, a great thing for this would be just a piece of cardboard. You could use the edge of a cereal box, whatever you have laying around. But on this one, I can close it off, and instead of attaching it, maybe I have this space in between the two buildings, which is fine. In order to make this have taller buildings, you're going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull this down a little bit on my screen. Same technique where I'm going to do that straight line, and then I'm going to use my ruler to go to my perspective dots on both sides. Will my ruler reach? Yes, exciting. And then I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to bring them down. And you can see how you could just keep building as tall and as many as you wanted because it's literally the same process over and over again. Now, for the details, anytime you want to add a window or a door, just like when we did our bedroom or our treehouse, the lines have got to be to the perspective dots. So, for example, if I want a door, I have to line the top of the door up with this perspective line, and then the bottom, or the sides rather, are just straight. If I want to do a window, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do it up here with the dot, and then and then the sides are just straight. Now, one thing that you want to keep in mind when you're doing this is that there's two directions on here, and this is what I mean. Each building has two sides, one side, two side. If you're doing a door or window on this side, this side, you're going to use this perspective point. If they're on this side, or this side, they go to this direction. And that sounds much more complicated than it is. Once you kind of take a look at it and think about the direction, it makes sense. It's almost like these buildings are pointing to the direction you want to go. The other details that we added, if you wanted to do a sidewalk, you're going to go to the point, the corner of your building, drop down a bit, make a little dot, and then you are simply going to go up to your dot again on both sides. And then a lot of sidewalks have blocks in them, so they're sectioned off. This is something you'll definitely need your longer ruler situation for. So for this side, I'm going to have to do this dot, and for this side, I'm using this dot, and this is what I mean. I'm going to line my ruler or folder up to this dot, and then I'm going to make a line on this side. I'm keeping it on that dot. I'm going to lift it up a little bit. Keeping it on this dot, I'm going to lift it up a little bit more, and then I'll show you what it looks like so you understand what I'm doing. And do you see how I've got the correct angle on that? I'm going to do the same thing for this side. So now I'm going to go from this dot to this side, this dot to this side, and you just keep going. If that seems confusing, rewind, watch one more time. The first time I did this, I was like, what? And then now I'm like, oh yes, I see. So this is going to look like it's going to go back. So again, this dot is for this side, lining it up, hold it in place, raise, raise. This, opposite, hold it in place, raise it, raise it. If you want to do a road with the lines that are painted in the middle, you're going to use that dot as well. And could even that off. You could do that on both sides. Then you get to decide what is in your city. You have signs, you have windows, you might have curtains. What is in the sky? Is it nighttime? Is it daytime? Are there mountains? Are there hills? Are there butterflies? I don't know. What's in this section? Is it a green space? Is it more city space? So it's really open-ended what you can do. And you saw in the examples, we used every medium for this. Colored pencils, watercolors, Sharpies, tempera, whatever you have at home, use it. You just want to get in as much detail as you can to make it unique. I can't wait to see what you do with this. Please let me know if you have any questions or if you need any supplies. Also, I'm going to include on a separate link with this project this week an extra drawing prompt, just if you're looking for a little more drawing inspiration. All right, I hope you enjoy it. Take care. Bye-bye.